This is absolutely huge. Manchester United have got a brand new keeper in Andre Onana. In this video, I'm going to break down the overview of the deal, where Man United will go next season. I think they'll be a force. I'm not even going to lie. And of course, Andre Onana, the keeper himself. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We really appreciate it. The deal is a very, very good one, in my opinion, for Manchester United. They're not spending, even close to the kind of Alisson and Kepa fees, whether they're good or bad transfers. 50 million quid, which is a lot less. You're getting Andre Onana, Champions League finalist keeper, got Ajax to the Champions League semi-final, so he's the highest caliber keeper that Man United could feasibly sign, in my opinion. Of course, the deal is a long-term one, so it's not this kind of short, stopgap kind of transfer that you sometimes see when big clubs maybe don't have an idea of who they could replace their keeper with. It feels like a philosophical long-term appointment in goal for Man United, a player that can obviously play out with his feet. I think Man United are slowly transforming into the club that Ten Hag wants them to be. And that's massive, because you do feel in the last few years there's been a disconnect between what the manager wants and what the ownership wants. Maybe Ronaldo coming in was a kind of sponsorship, brand, savvy kind of deal, and it might not have been the best thing for the team on the football pitch. Onana is a big transfer for the future of Manchester United, because he's a young 27-year-old keeper coming from some of the most prodigious football clubs in Europe, Inter Milan, Ajax. Absolutely huge. The fee itself, again, 50 million quid's fantastic. The length of the deal shows you long-term security. I think it's amazing. Man United next season, I think, are going to be a very, very interesting side. Onana playing out with his feet. He looks a little bit more risky than Alisson. He looks a little bit less assured than Ederson. But you actually look at his results in terms of some of the numbers that he puts up in terms of his passing ability, his passing range. In Serie A last season is absolutely fantastic. There's no coincidence if you get to the later stages of the Champions League with multiple clubs and you're under the age of 30 as a keeper, you are in a bracket that is world class. I would be a little bit not dubious. I think he's fantastic. I would be a little bit dubious of there's a fine margin in the Premier League, especially playing for a club like Man United, between being a Bravo, like Man City experienced, and Ederson. Both keepers can play out with their feet, look good on the eye, and one was one of the worst keepers I've ever seen in the Premier League, and the other was Ederson. So Onana's got to come in, and of course he's going to be asked to play out from the back instantly in Man United's first game of the season. Every single second of his time at Man United under Ten Hag will be to play out progressively with his feet. He has to be careful, and I hope Ten Hag can instill it in him that at the right moments he just boots it out of play, because those Luton away days, the tough FA Cup draws when you're going to League One opposition and it bobbles. In his first season at Man United, he might have to just be slow with the kind of playing out with his feet, because if he makes a couple of mistakes early, Man United fans could get on him, and it could actually be a longer transition time than he'd want, and he doesn't want to end up being a Taibbi. So I don't think he will be, by the way, but there's a lot of risk when you play out with your feet, and I think that's the only concern if I was looking at it. His other qualities: shot stopper, unbelievable. He's good in the air. He's good at coming for crosses. I think he's a bit of a leader. I saw him at the Champions League final. He made some world-class saves in that game. There's no question about it. Kept Inter Milan in it at points. There's no question. He was shouting at his defence the whole time. He was ushering on his defence. It's all well and good being good with your feet. Kepa's good with his feet, but I don't think he's a leader. Onana was actually kind of marshalling the back line at points. I think Man United need that, especially when someone like Varane's injured. They need as much leadership as they can get. I think they were guilty last season of actually showing a lack of bottle, a lack of discipline at points. I think Onana is someone to bring that in. Look in the FA Cup final. I know it was David De Gea, but the saves themselves, poor. I think Onana probably makes the second goal that City scored, the Ilkay Gundogan on his left foot. I think Onana saves that. So that's instantly an improvement for Man United. But when they were chasing the game, and they were kind of a little bit flat, and you just look at David De Gea, he's a kind of limp guy in goal. Onana's big, he's built. And I think Man United, having him at the base, a bit like a Schmeichel, he's built a bit like Schmeichel, a bit stocky. And I think Man United can use him as a base, as an anchor to go forward. And we got someone like Mason Mount who's come in as well. It's very, very exciting times for Man United. That is just the reality of it. We have to talk about Ten Hag. Last season, he won the League Cup. He got to the FA Cup final. beat City, the treble winners, at Old Trafford. So there are glimpses of success, glimpses of optimism. And you look at Guardiola. Look, Guardiola came in, spent a load of money. There's no two ways about it. Second season, had to get the likes of Kyle Walker in his second season. The likes of Bernardo Silva came in. So it took a good season before City were able to go on and get 100 points in that season. So Man United have had that 12 months. They won the League Cup, so they've shown glimpses of how well they can play, despite the fact David Hay is one of the worst keepers of a generation that was kind of rated to be one of the best keepers of his generation. They still had one of the best defences going in the league last season. And up front, they had someone like Marcus Rashford in the form of his life, and he's someone that's, he's going to be signing a new deal within the next few weeks. And they've signed Mason Mount, who is young, energetic, England international, for not much money. To get Onana and Mason Mount for £100 million, essentially. Absolutely unbelievable business. So Man United are not only going out and signing players that align to the Ten Hag vision, but they actually are keeping their money relatively in safe hands. I don't think you can go too far wrong with those two players for £110 million. Champions League level performers. One's a Champions League winner. The other's a Champions League finalist and a semi-finalist with Ajax. I think Man United are going under the radar. Where can they finish next season? If Onana and Mason Mount stay fit, everyone else largely stays fit. Casemiro, I'm talking about, Rashford. Can Sancho kick on a little bit? Can Bruno Fernandes stay fit and kick on even more? Suddenly, they are looking like a side that can be a little bit more wily under Ten Hag. I think Mason Mount brings a lot of experience. I still think they need bodies. They need a striker desperately. I don't know who they're pinning a ball into. I don't know who they're even linked to. I mean, I know Man United fans are crying out for Harry Kane. That doesn't look realistic. Osimhen, it doesn't look realistic, of course. I don't know anyone else that they're linked to, and that would be a massive concern for me, that actually going into next season, they've got no one to hang their hat on and say, here's 25 goals guaranteed next season. Now, I know Rashford did well last season in terms of those numbers, but I do feel he's more of a flair player. I don't think he's a natural finisher in big games. Did he score the big goals in the big games last season? I'm not sure. I'm sure there are examples where he did, but I think you look at someone like Guardiola in his first season trying to install this kind of philosophical change, trying to install false nine systems and multiple midfielders and fullbacks that are inverted. He started to rely on Aguero to get 20 plus league goals multiple times. He started to rely on that. He had to rely on Aguero to score in the League Cup final to get City past Arsenal in Guardiola's first trophy in England. So sometimes it's all well and good having the keeper, having Mason Mount, fantastic. They're building out from kind of the base up. But at the end of it, they're going to need a striker to perform next season to get them where they should be. And that is a squad that's cost hundreds of millions of pounds, one of the most expensively assembled squads in the history of football. They have to be aiming to win the Premier League. They have to be aiming to win the Premier League. Look at Arsenal spending 100 million quid. Chelsea, 600 million quid in the last two transfer windows. Man City, their nearest rivals, just won the treble. So Man United have to be looking at it. England international Mount. Of course, Onana's a fantastic keeper, but surely it's the beginning of something a lot bigger. It can't just be two signings to maintain top four. Maybe that's the Glazers' financial ambition, and that's obviously where Man United fans are certainly aggrieved. I get that. But they need a striker, and if they get that, I think they're not too far off challenging for the Premier League next season. Especially, they'll be keeping a keen eye on, City. A lot of issues, not issues, but things slowing down in the transfer market. Gundogan's left. Cancelo's going to be leaving, of course. Kyle Walker might be leaving. Bernardo Silva, Saudi Arabia. Suddenly they'll be thinking there's an opportunity. There'll be a few other clubs thinking that as well. Chelsea will be kicking on. So Man United certainly, with the news of Onana coming in, have to look at the bounce that Alisson gave Liverpool. They win the Premier League. They win the Champions League. Ederson, the same with Centurions. So it's a massive start for Man United. I think they need a little bit more. But Onana looks to be the new keeper for the next 6 years at Man United. It's a huge transfer. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I'll see you soon.